Okay, hello everybody. This next part comes from I've gotten enough information where there's enough curiosity to what happened, in the sense of we were this couple for 15 years. We did immersions together. People were around us. Just felt like there was a beauty happening between the two of us. So, what happened? Now, on the deepest level, look, this is all choiceless. This is all choiceless. And it kind of goes back to that thing, principally underneath, if it's time to move apart, it doesn't matter what the thing is on the surface, it's like there's going to be a separation. And so what happens on the surface is sort of, not really the point. But what unfolded between the two of us could be beneficial to understand the dynamic of, an open emotional generator and an emotional manifestor. To view it mechanically for me, all of the information I ever gathered, and the perspective that I saw, and the things that I've responded to being true in my perception, and to see it mechanically, right? The dynamics mechanically. And so this video is about taking people through the arc of the two of us relating over 15 years. And hopefully it illustrates some principles that people can see in their own lives, and hopefully learn from my mistakes and the things that I've seen and learned, and maybe they don't have to go through them. Or maybe they still will. Choicelessness is a hell of a thing. But from the back seat, I can share what it is that I saw. And in that, entering into the experiment it's shocking in a sense, no matter what, because all of a sudden you've been going along in life in a particular way and meeting it in a particular mental strategies, and then you get this parameters of the potential to surrender to these parameters, and then you find out what happens. But understanding when that's happening and the whole world is reorganizing itself around that, it is very easy for the mind to totally misunderstand things and distort things, and so much potential for miscommunication. I mean, it's enormous, And then, of course, the mind only has more or less the homogenized tools out there and the homogenized concepts to lay on top of that. So another importance of the simple of strategy and authority, and the challenges that arrive, especially when you are two different types and two different inner authorities. And so for Emily and I got my sound, my way to respond, and all of a sudden it just challenged every way, shape, and form of what it meant to relate, what it meant to be in a relationship, what it meant to love someone. And especially in the beginning, there's so much room to come out of your strategy and go into old habits and old patterns. And in this one, it's like the needs of open emotional sacral authority are different than the needs of an emotional manifestor. And if the two people want the other, if it's still correct for them to be in their lives, there's a mechanical nature that has to be met. If it's not met, I'm not sure how they can survive staying together, you know? Or at least when it's time to move apart, the difference between moving apart in a peaceful, content way versus, you know, a potentially frustrated, angry way, or, you know, or vice versa, you know, content but angry, or peaceful but frustrated. Like, you know, all those can unfold. And that really depends on how the mind is believed during the entire process. And so one of the challenges that sort of remained throughout Emily and I's entire experience was me seemingly not being available to her and having the type of presence that she said to me that she wanted from me, that she saw me having with other people. And from my perspective, in that missing, how available I really was to her, you know? How much my entire day and everything was, it wasn't just waiting for life itself, it was literally specifically waiting for her to come in, to initiate something. And one of the things that would happen that I surrendered to is she would initiate me. So she would ask me something, you know, and, you know, do you want to come up? Do you want to go to dinner? Do you want to do something? And I would have my And so we would go do that thing. But often there would be sort of enough times where this interference would happen between the two of us. And sometimes she would, well, not sometimes, a lot, she would just start talking to me. And I wouldn't know if I was actually available. And so for me, that, you know, here's this aura that's going boom, 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 boom. And I don't know if I'm really available in that moment to listen to what they're talking about. And so this would happen, and I would kind of be there, and I would notice that it would be like, I don't know if I can listen. And so I could see myself drift off, or, you know, I would go over and look at my phone or something. And, you know, it was just like, because I'm there's nothing I can do, but I'm not going to force myself to try to seem like I'm listening, you know? It's more like I'm just going to naturally come back to whatever is my reality. Now, Emily watched this, saw this, you know, took that in. And from what I could tell, like, yes, you know, there would be, well, are you available to listen? You know, and then I would, and I would come back. And then I'd be there for a moment. So, but it would still trail away again. It would trail away again. And so once again, it would be like my energy would drift away, and it would start to pay attention to something else. And primarily, the phone is one of the best places, you know, to come back to something that may interest me, or, you know, somebody is trying to talk to me or whatever, sent me a message and I respond to it. And so this dynamic would play out enough. And Emily would bring it to my attention. And the hardest part for me was often the way that it would be brought to my attention is that I was doing something or that I wasn't doing something. And I would try to let her know, like, well, I need to know if I'm available to listen. I'm not getting that question. I'm just being talked at, which I know is just a normal thing for manifestors to do. It's also the manifestor thing that you see out there in the world where people just start talking to each other. Nobody checks in, hey, are you available to listen? There's no knocking on the door and finding out. It's just we launch into it. And so for me, it's deeply ingrained in all of our cells. And so I would remind her of this, but often I would be punished for that, for something that I should just know, or however that works. But often what I would do is I would just kind of surrender and be like, okay, this is what's happening. And so for me, if you're with somebody and you notice that they're drifting away from what you're doing and you are in the hierarchy, you are the thing that orients the other's potential. I mean, if you're a generator and you have a projector in front of you and you've been talking to them and you see the projector drift off or maybe start paying attention to something else, it's like, oh, wait a minute, what am I doing? Hold on. Like, hey, I see you're looking at something else, or, are you still wanting to have this conversation, or, is anything the matter? And they might be like, well, actually, yeah. And then depending on what you are, they're going to approach that with, like, if you're a sacral authority, do you want to hear? Or if it's a manifestor, like, I would like to hear. And then they're able to say, well, yeah, you're talking about something, but I'm not really engaged. And it went on for a really long time, and I just lost the ability to listen, And then there might be this moment of the ability to be like, oh, yeah, geez, I didn't know, okay. I'm not sure what to do. I was just sharing my day with you. And it's like, nobody has to be wrong. And I don't know how many people have that nuance, but to understand that when you're in the hierarchy, right, of the manifestor, the generator, the projector to the reflector, it's like, in my experience, it's the hierarchical order to recognize, oh, look, I'm losing what it is that I'm wanting from this person. I'm losing their presence. Whoa, what might be going on here? How might I be part of what's happening? But instead, in my experience, it has been said to me that it's my lack of awareness that is disrespectful to them, that they feel like a parent and I'm a child, and they're having to, like, orient me and educate me as to what it means to care and whatever for a person, So this would be a dynamic that Emily and I would have. And for me, it's just manifestor generator stuff, right? Being overlaid with homogenized ideas and concepts. Now, whether I'm correct in that or not, I don't really know, right? This is just what I'm seeing from the information that I've been gathered in my own experience of it. And in the beginning, I used to try to tell her, well, this is what you're doing, and da-da-da-da, and that just doesn't work with a manifestor. It does not work, right? So it would be like, okay, well, it is what it is. There's nothing I can do, it'll keep happening, And part of that was, though, is there was an expectation and laid on me that's like, okay, I've informed you of, what I want, what I need, this behavioral pattern. And it was sort of like, for me, it was like, yeah, but it doesn't work that way. I can't have a mental strategy around us. I am here to wait to respond in each moment. That means that even if you say I have something to say and I have an aha to listen, there may come a certain point, depending on how much you've shared or what you're sharing, that this starts to lose interest. It doesn't have the energy to pay attention anymore. And this idea that just because you got my response in the beginning means that it's forever or it's for a certain long time, it's like, no, I don't know how much energy I have in each moment for your story, for your thing that you're sharing. And so this would be something that would happen between us. And from what Emily shared with me, this would disturb her. This would make her question us being together, right? And I would try to address it again and again through mechanics, because that's the only place that I know that anything can actually work. And the mind can be removed from the story. Well, part of this journey would be other people on the outside, especially attractive women, who would come in, that's my whole thing, is I really was available to people to support them in this process of waking up to their strategy and authority and what that meant. And being a generator means that I'm open all the time, 24/7. It doesn't mean I'm available, but it means that I am open. And if I have my phone on me, or if you have some way that you can reach me, there's always the potential, regardless of what is happening in my world, that I might have a hunt. Can I ask you something? And there's not going to be this thing in the mind that goes, oh, hey, look, I have this but it's 7:00 at night and I'm with my partner and we're watching a movie and that takes precedence over this. Now, if I'm actually not available to them, then either I won't answer it, or that will just naturally be there, like, I am, but can we get to this tomorrow? But it wouldn't be something that, because my mind was trying to tell me that's what I had to do, that's literally how I moved. And it's not because somebody gave me some rule that I should apply. That's literally the experience I'm having, and often those people would check back in. Okay, would it be good to just check in tomorrow? Okay, so I got affirmed. But often, Emily and I might be hanging out and one of these people would chime in and I would have an and I would have the energy to talk to them and I would have all this and I would be present to them. And what I got reflected from her is you're very present to these people. And in my experience, it was like, well, yeah, but they're asking me and they continue to ask me and they keep getting my energy and my they keep bringing me along. I am being oriented through my response that they are bringing. And what I saw, at least from my perspective, is it's like that never really seemed to click for her in truly how important it was in every moment. Or maybe she did see the importance, but maybe the energy wasn't there for her to do it, which I totally get. Like, for a manifestor to come around and continue to be reminded of, oh yeah, they need to know if it's correct for them to be here. I can't just assume that they know that and that's why they're in front of me and that's why they're giving me my attention, or that I deserve it in every moment. And unfortunately, the experience that I had with the way that Emily would often describe to me what was an issue for her was experienced as that I am wrong and I am immature in what it means to relate with her. And that, yeah, I should know better by now. I should be good about it. And that because of my availability to these other people, especially attractive women, at, in her perspective, inappropriate times, that this was seen as being disrespectful to her and disrespectful to our relationship, and that these people who were coming in the evening or early in the morning, or continuing to ask me questions for however long I was available for hours, was being inconsiderate. Oh, that it was a weekend, or that I had a partner. Like, this was all told to me. And for me, it was just like, but that's not what's happening. I am a generator. I am open. If anybody can come in, I might be available to them. It's what to do, in the same regard. When I'm with a manifestor, and that manifestor and I are engaged, and all of a sudden the manifestor pivots to something else, I mean, literally the experience on this side is they're just gone. And that my mind has told me, like, what, they didn't care about what I was saying, or it wasn't important, or, geez, I guess I don't really matter. Like, they can just drop me that fast. My mind would have those things, but I knew not to listen to it. I was like, that would come in and be like, I don't know, but they're just being a manifestor. That's a manifestor. That's who they are, right? Like, what to do? Not believe my mind. And, many of the things that Emily would want to try, because this process is not to be believed. So for her, she would reflect to me about how, she doesn't want to be the one to always initiate, especially as a female manifestor. Like, the romantic idea of, somebody coming up behind her and grabbing her or holding her hand or initiating sex or whatever, right? The fact that now it was in her court as the manifestor generator relating, it was like I had responded to go ahead and trying out or trying to adapt or match to how she was trying to be in this or discover it, which is basically the equivalent of like me responding to, here, hunt, here's a knife. Do you want to go find out if that electrical socket will shock you? I would have an aha, so I'd be like, okay, I'm responding to initiating things with my girlfriend. All right. And so that has played out in our relationship. Correct for me. And so what that proved was it just never worked. It wouldn't. I would get her aura kicking me out. I would get a hand slapping me. I would get a verb, slap, and it would be like, yeah, see, this doesn't work. It doesn't matter the romanticness behind it or whatever else. It just doesn't work. It really works when you come to me and you get my sound. That's what works. Okay. And now there was enough of that to keep it going and give us the space we have and get to large moments of peace and surrender and all these things, and keep the relationship in this place of an evolution. But that when I had this, whatever's up with my nervous system that kept me from sleeping, still keeps me from sleeping, so basically 4 years and like 2.5 months, I have basically not gotten enough sleep, It's like just enough to fucking stay alive and have a certain amount of function. But it's like the toll that takes on me in the day-to-day operations and my capacity to pay attention in each moment or what to pay attention to, and the difference of having the energy of somebody who just wants to talk about, whatever, their clients, over here, what's this, what they did that day, I noticed that I had less energy for that. What I tended to have energy for was the people on the outside who wanted help with their process. They wanted help with what it meant to respond with whatever it is, whether you're a projector, a manifestor, whatever it is, whoever I'm working with. It's like what that process is, that self-awareness process, like I would have energy for that. And these people would ask me continually through conversations. And so it was almost like in that response, I was a little bit rejuvenated. My cells would regenerate because I'd be getting asked a lot of questions. It was like, like this whole thing. And so the animating life force would rise up inside me, and it would be like I was getting to drink water. I was getting nourishment through this. And from what I could tell, Emily saw that from the outside, and what she basically expressed to me was that I was really present with these people, but she wasn't getting that. Well, the difference is that she never came to me for those things for me, hardly ever. Which is fine. It's not like she has to. But the difference is the things that she would want to talk about are things I noticed I just had less energy, and she wouldn't naturally keep engaging me. Like, is it okay if I keep, sharing about this? I want to keep talking about it. Are you okay to listen? Keep bringing me to her, keep bringing me to her, keep bringing me to her, to see if I have energy to stay present to what it is that she's wanting to share. And so that she got to have the experience of, oh yeah, he's with me. He's with me. And instead, the way that it felt was she just expected that from me. And she just expected that from me because I was her partner. And that's what a boyfriend is, and that's what a loving partner is, and that's what support is, and blah, 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 blah. Like, that's what I got from part of what she would share with me. And so, and all the time when this would come up, I would be like, yes, but sweetie, I just need to be asked. 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 But in each moment, and if she brought me to something, but then got busy with other things, I wasn't disturbed by it. It wasn't like, oh, you brought me up here to snuggle and you're not snuggling me. Well, now I'm upset. It's like, oh, okay, this didn't happen. All right. And then I might go back to paying attention to something that I'm paying attention to. But then once again, that would be looked at like, oh, why are you on your phone? I've asked you up here for tea or coffee or, this. And it's like, well, I understand that, but you're just running around the house and you're talking about stuff that I don't even know if I'm available to listen to. Like, those are two different things. Coming up for something and then you don't start doing it. Now I'm just here, And if the energy isn't there to keep orienting me towards you to see if I'm available to you, that's fine too. But for me, I was being punished for that, as though that was an expectation of me. And that became exhausting for me. But I didn't rally against it. It's like I would get my response. Do you love Emily? Do you want to be with her? Okay. So here I am. And I would repeat to her, I just need questions. And I would express to her again, these people are asking me questions. And for the most part, this is a professional thing. Whether they continue to pay me or not, it's still correct for me to support them. It's like the number of times, like for Marianne, like outside of going to immersions with her, she never asked me for money. She never required for money. She never needed more revenue from me just because she would be there with me and support me through part of my process. It's like, so I have that with other people also. But what I got reflected is it's inappropriate because they're not paying for you, so you're just knowing them on a personal level, and that is taking away from our relating. Like, that's what was told to me. And me going, that's not about that. I wait, I respond. I wait, I respond. And from what I could tell, it's like, look, if a manifestor wants me in a particular way, then they set that up. You orient me. I see if I respond to that orientation, and then I'm there with you. But then the orientation has to keep happening. It's keep happening. It's not like I'm a dog and you take me on a walk and I have to walk with you as long as you're taking me for a walk. I'm not a dog that way. You know? And so that presence with another person, when it was an attractive woman, well, that's what it seemed to overlay and be more uncomfortable for her, you know? And so that would have a charge around it. And so then it would become about, well, there's got to be something more happening between you and her, because how can it not? She's an attractive person. Why wouldn't you go over there? And now it's even more disrespectful to our relationship. So this is what for me was being projected onto me. Now, if there's some other nuance in there, something that I just haven't picked up, and there's a deeper truth happening for her, could totally be. But all I can go off of is what I'm given, you know? And and her having emotional needs, well, I can only be there for an emotional being and in their needs if I get asked yes/no questions. You know, can you be here with me? Can you just listen to me? I just need to talk, you know, but that requires a certain level of already awareness and clarity to even be there. You know, and one of the things I see with manifestors is manifestors are, you know, the mind is deeply afraid of rejection. So to come to me in an emotional moment and want from me just a hug and a hold you, right? Like, just be there for me, you know, just listen to me. It's like, okay, that's all fine and dandy, but I still need to be asked. And if you don't ask, and then the very thing that you're emotionally digesting is about me, and it comes in a particular way, I might not be available for that at all, which would happen. And then that would also get turned into me being unsupportive, me not being a very good boyfriend, her not feeling safe as an emotional being who could just, you know, because she would often say, sometimes I just need a hug. And I'm like, well, then I need to be asked. You know, I need to be asked. That wouldn't happen. So it would turn into this thing, and then there would be, you know, a confrontation, and then that would turn into this greater story. So, yeah. And for me, I saw all this, you know, but knowing that, look, I'm helpless. I'm helpless to this. There's nothing I can do. All I can do is wait to respond. Because I tried all the other ways. I tried to tell her. I tried to explain these things. But it doesn't work that way. So it was just surrender. Surrender. Maybe she'll ask. Surrender. Maybe she'll come. You know? But didn't really. You know? And so it was like, okay, here we are. And so this was always underneath the surface in there, right? And any attractive woman, this belief system around presence and not understanding why it was happening, and for me, I could see a story being laid on top of that, and I heard the story come at me, and I would always have, that's not what's happening, you know, but it seems as though my having an and explaining that that's not what's happening was an invalidation to whatever it was that she was really experiencing. But for me, whatever she was really experiencing, I wasn't getting the deepest thing inside there to understand. And so I'm left with like, well, I don't really exactly know what's going on. I have what could be, what I perceive it could be, you know? And the biggest thing that I came to was well, she seems, and I've asked her, or not asked her, but we talked about this, and it was like, she would always talk about how she compromises. And then I'd be like, why are you compromising? I don't compromise at all. And she said, yeah, I know. And it's like, well, why would you? Like, if you're not comfortable to come to me, if you're not comfortable to be with me, then why would you ignore that and try to make it work? You know, like, I don't know, you know? And so if that's underlying, something's underlying, right? But the way that I end up receiving it is that, I'm entertaining attractive women, and that makes her feel like a piece of furniture, and her emotional needs are not being met, and she's not going to tolerate it anymore, and my behavior with these people, with these attractive women, is inappropriate. And so I'm worth more than that, and I'm not going to put up with it anymore. And all of that for me is that I'm doing something. And that there is an expectation of me to show up to her in a particular way, and in that way, it means that this is how I really love you. And for me, it's like, I'm here to wait to respond. Anything that you could want from me needs to come from me in a yes/no question, and it also has to, from what I can tell, match the mechanics. I have to respond to each one of these things, and I'm not here to promise anything. So what I really saw in it is I need to be oriented with my sound to each thing. You want to set the thing up and then I respond to it? Okay, you'll probably get it. But that wasn't happening. It was an assumption. And from what I can tell on the other side, Emily's heart was just being broken over and over and over and over and over again, simply because of who I am. And so that got enough tension in it that it just required just the right certain ingredients to create that's it, I'm not going to put up with this anymore, and to have a projection thrown out on me that allowed the tearing apart to occur. And okay, that's the way that it is, what to do. But as a manifestor dealing with a generator, I need yes/no questions. And even though manifestors need to be informed, it doesn't mean that the informing that we have goes in. It doesn't mean it goes in. It doesn't mean it goes in at all. And as an emotional being, waiting for actual comfort, If emotional being can't wait for comfort to go to another person, especially an open emotional person, and you're also not finding out if their inner authority is correct for you to be in that moment and throughout that experience, because the emotional system is quite overwhelming, what do you think is going to happen? Chances are the open emotional person can't stay in the frequency anymore, and the emotional being is going to feel like they are not validated. Nobody's doing anything. It's just the mechanics. But the fear of rejection, I see, keeps a lot of manifestors from actually meeting the other and how they need to be met, because they might get a no. And I can understand what that stems from. Life has punished them, and they've experienced enough rejection in their life that it just is, it touches a deep wound they already have. So in every moment you can say that to do that is an act of courage. And in this thing, the part that for me is the difficult part is instead of this having just being a private moment between the two of us, it went out to people. And it, went out to. And it created a publicness that has been created here. Which I don't care. It's like, okay, it provides the opportunity to talk about the whole thing. But what I respond to not tolerating is a projection onto me that those moments with attractive women that I was having, that I responded to, was a betrayal to our relating and our relationship and us being a couple. And that I was somehow doing something or not doing something to Emily that meant that I must be entertaining this over here. To paint me as that is that is such bullshit. To try to come over the top of me, label me as something that I'm not. It's like, fuck you. If you want to go and inform people and tell them what's going on, then stay with the thing that I've heard. The truth of what I've heard, which is, look, I do not know how to be across from Hunt when he's so available to the outside world. And that the needs that I feel that I can get, I don't know how to get them in the way that I need them from Hunt. I don't know what to do with it. Like, no blame, no nothing. But if you're going to blame me, and you're going to paint me, and I respond to it, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna correct what it is that's trying to be said about me. And not because I'm trying to prove anything, but because it's correct for me, because I respond to it. And I could see these things between us. I knew they were there. I also knew why they were happening, but there was nothing I could do. I had tried to inform what was needed for me to meet her, how she could be met. I had to respond to it each time. It can't be expected of me. It doesn't matter what you lay out. I have to keep responding to it. And if there's no energy to do that over there, then, for me, it's just go back and wait. And if in the end, I'm truly not a person that in the long run, like the feeling of comfort can't stay with me, and the comfort is to go, okay, I can't do this anymore, that's so fine. Like, yes. Like, please. The mind compromises us. The mind compromises us. And I know there's a human design term for compromise and all that, but that's not what I'm talking about, okay? Like, this form of compromise is created by the mind. It's ignoring what might really be going on inside in a clean manner, not a story, but this coming over the top of it, trying to ignore it, trying to make something better, compromising themselves, staying in something and in a way that is not working, which just creates a story, and it goes to blame. So for anybody who's made it this far and listened to all this, I hope there's something to be garnered from this. Because relating with a different type and a different inner authority, it's not easy. And both people live inside of a paradigm that you can only learn about how the other experiences reality. We can never know it from true experience because we're not that. I'm not a manifestor. I'm not an emotional manifestor. Never will be. That's not a sacral authority generator. Which is another beautiful thing about mechanics. In the simple, is how we can always potentially meet and have harmony. But if the simple is not honored, it just opens it up to so much distortion and so much more pain, hurt, anger, all of it. And it can take something that has beauty and it can destroy it. And it can leave scars there later on that are going to have to be met probably with another person. And I don't know, without mechanics, I don't know how they're truly resolved. So I think I've laid that out pretty clearly. Yeah. So if you made it this far, cool. If you didn't, well, what to do? All right, we'll see what happens next.